Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Traveled this weekend to North Carolina. I could say it was another quiet hobby weekend. Uh, I didn't make it. I was hoping to get the cardiac cards. I did not make it there. Action packed for 4 days down there, things to do. So I didn't get a chance to get away and get there. But while I was there, I was able to close a few deals on cards. A lot of friends. And I know people are starting to get their PSA orders back. You know, that January special, everybody sent it out. Usually waited to I think a lot of people waited to the end of January and sent out those deals. So now I know, or sent out the cards for that deal. A lot of people are starting to get their cards back now. So I'm starting to get, pictures of people. Check this out, check that out. And I'm just making deals. I made a few deals already. Um, I haven't gotten the cards yet. Obviously, I just got back today. But more to come. When they arrive, I'll share them with you, but I'm pretty excited about that. Um, it's always nice when people share their orders, when the grades pop. Uh, they always like to share their orders with me, and I kind of feel like I've got a front row seat to say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I'm interested in this card. Let's do something." So, funny story. I've been waiting. I've been on the wait list for the Chantilly show, which was this weekend, and I've been on the waiting list just to get in. If somebody doesn't show up to get a booth or whatever, and I watch my email like a hawk every time this show is coming up, hoping some space opens up. So after I arrived in North Carolina, like an hour and a half after I arrive, I see this email come up on Thursday saying there's an open booth if you're interested. I mean, if I was home, I would have jumped on that quick. But they're first come, first serve. I got notified. All I could say is I'm out of town. What else can I say? I mean, it was just the worst luck. To finally get notified and not be home. I'm like, come on, man. Any other time, I'd have just jumped in the car and gone down there and taken the booth, and may have even picked somebody up along the way. But yeah, it just didn't work out this time. Hopefully next time it'll happen. But back home in Connecticut now. No delays. Everybody I know has been traveling. They've been get delays and flights canceled and everything else. But my travel went smooth both ways. I was home. I was home early today, and I'm getting ready for the women's national championship basketball game. My UConn women, they came up short Friday night. One penalty, I say penalty. I'm so used to football and hockey. One foul called late in that game, and changed that game, and put Iowa in the championship game, and not our beloved UConn women. But I know the men. They're playing. They'll be playing tomorrow night, Monday night, for back-to-back championships. So still got a team to root for. Still got a home team to root for here. I know a few of you have poo-pooed my idea. I talk about, you know, as we get closer to the Nationals, selling, women's sports there at the National, women's basketball and women's soccer. Um, and man, this year's NCAA women's basketball tournament has really made a statement. Obviously leading the way is Caitlin Clark. And this whole situation reminds me of, because I know there's true fans of women's college basketball out there, but I've been selling, going out to the shows, the Bowman Chrome University, and I've been selling these at at all these probably over the last 2 months, right? I've talked about it, the basketball, selling it to shows, and the women have been selling better. The women's cards selling better than the men's cards, and I know the women's are more limited in the print run. There's many more men players than there are women. There's only I don't even know. I probably should have counted before I got on. Maybe 7 to 10 women's players in there. There's really not that many in there. But they've been selling like crazy, right? And you know what this reminds me of? Especially what Caitlin Clark is kind of like the Bedard cards, right? It's all the rage. He's coming out, and there's like non-hockey fans buying these and just ripping these boxes, just trying to get these cards. And it's almost as if people who were doing this and buying the cars, they're like, oh, Chicago's playing, maybe I should put the game on and just see how good this kid looks, or whatever. And I think it's just that type of thing. And even with the women's basketball, I think it's just these type of players, and the buildup is, it really brings new eyes and then new fans to the sport. And there's more than just one. I mean, once you start investing and looking into, you start to see there's many other players and great players, and it snowballs a little bit, right? It gets you so involved and so invested in the sport. And especially with the women, right? If these cards are selling so well in their college uniforms, when they get to the WNBA and they're putting on the pro uniforms, man, they're really going to be selling. Um, and I don't even know, being in this and knowing so much about this. I mean, I would have to think that, like these Caitlin Clark cards now are selling. I mean, there's big money on these cards. But what happens when she gets drafted, first round draft next year, and she's putting on a professional uniform? Is it going to drop the prices of these college cards and then put the chase onto these WNBA cards? Right? I mean, I would have to think so. Right. So now it's just, even though you've got these college cards, now you're ready. When they start dropping, Prism starts dropping these boxes, right? I think it's going to probably be selling just like, the Upper Deck hockey, the series 2, when people were chasing Bedard. I think it's going to be, similar to the same thing. And even with the NWSL, the Women's Soccer League, their new season is just kicked off. We've got the Olympics coming up this summer. And we say this summer and we're talking about the nationals. I mean, it's only a few months away, right? I mean, we're in April now. We're talking July. So it is so close. I mean, things are really starting to move now. And they'll be close. And there's a lot of games. There's a lot of, the US, the women's US national team's gonna be playing. They were just playing this weekend. They're playing a little tournament this week that, they're gonna be in a championship. I think it's Wednesday night, like 7:30, right? So it's like exciting things happen there. So, you know, it's putting all these players in the spotlight. And I talked about doing so well last year with these cards there, that I think there's a lane there for me, and I'm going to do it again this year, and I'm excited. I'm excited with all the coverage and the press and these players and chasing these players. It's just an exciting, for me, it's very exciting. Both NWSL and WNBA, they started off as my PC. But much like football, knowing the sport, knowing the players, it's easy for me now to separate my inventory and my PC stuff. And I've got a ton of inventory. I've been acquiring a ton of inventory all year long. So I'm really looking forward to getting this stuff, out there and for sale when the time is right. And I've talked about, this is season 4, and I've talked about probably every season just about being all over the place with different things, like trying to sell. The first few years, just trying to be a dealer and trying to be just in too many lanes. Whenever I would try a different lane, uh, I usually took a bunch of L's before I ever took any W's. So today's episode, it's just simply going to be stay in your lane, right? Stay in your lane. If you're someone who follows multiple sports, you know the players, and you're following the players, and you're following the teams, and you're absorbing information on a daily basis about the sports and the players. You're able to extend yourself into multiple lanes, right? Multiple hobby lanes. When it comes to buying, selling, flipping, whatever you do, if you're doing that, and I know there's a ton of people out there that do this. I've been set up with people. I know people. I'm friends with people, that be going in depth on WNBA, and then the next person comes up, it's like in depth on a baseball conversation, then in depth on, and just knows everything. And these are people I can reach out to when I have questions when it comes to baseball or it comes to basketball or things like that, because I know they just know. So I mean, for them, it works for them to be in all those multiple lanes. But if you're someone like me and you know a lot about multiple sports, but really only follow a few sports and really know and absorbing information on these sports on a daily basis and watching these sports, and the players, right? Just on a few sports. I recommend staying in the lane you feel most comfortable with and you have the most knowledge with, especially if you're setting up as a dealer like me. Because I think what happens is, as part of the hobby, if you're investing your time into these players and the teams and the sport, it's so nice to show up at these shows, especially for me as a dealer, at these shows. And I see I'm doing this, I'm doing the similar show every year. It's the same shows I'm doing over and over, but I have the same customers and same people who are coming back all the time. We're having these conversations where they're looking at these certain cars. To me, that's as equally as rewarding as making money on a card, being able to have these conversations and talk about this and bounce things off each other, right? Especially if we're with the same sport and the same players. And I do this, I'm always doing this. I have a number of friends out there that are with WNBA players. I have a number of friends out there with the soccer players, and we know IPC Trinity Rodman, and there's probably probably have eight eight to 10 people I'm messaging with almost on a weekly basis about different cards, things that are coming up. Did you see this? Did you see that? And even if they're playing in a game or they had a great game, did you see this game? Did you see the replays? Things like that. And that becomes as equally rewarding as selling a card and making money. Now, I need to be clear, because somewhere along the line, I've talked about not needing to make money. But when I'm saying I'm not needing to make money, what I try to say is I don't need the money to live on. And I know there's a lot of people in the hobby that do this full time, right? So everything they do, um, it's important to them. You know, balancing the books, knowing, the profit and the loss and everything. And I know a few people have messaged me, and I don't know where along the line I've said this wrong. Like, I don't need the money. Like, I'm here, but I don't need the money. And that's not what I'm trying to. I'm certainly not saying that. You know, I don't need the money. I'm not in this full time. This is not my full time job. I don't need the money to live on. I don't need the money to be paying a car payment or pay a mortgage or sending my kids to college, anything like that. I don't need the money for anything like that. But setting up as a dealer, I'm here because I love the hobby and I really enjoy spending my time in it for so many reasons. But I'm also here to make money, to reinvest not only into my PC, but just into my hobby ventures, being able to travel and go to shows and things like that. I mean, do it's a hobby, right? So some people work in this hobby full time. I'm in the hobby full time, but it's not my full time job, right? So I'm still out here to make money, to a number of things. And there's a lot of people that are in this doing the same thing I'm doing, right? It's nice to go out because we enjoy the hobby, and it's nice when the hobby can pay for itself. It's nice when the hobby can pay for itself. Doesn't always happen, right? But if you're doing it right, for the most part, it pays for itself. So if you're setting up as a dealer and spending time at these shows, to me, it's much more rewarding, to buy, sell, flip, prospect, whatever you want to call it, on players and in sport and a sport that you're invested in. And when I say invested in, it's what I'm doing. I'm out. If I'm out in the car all day, I'm listening. I've got on, fantasy sports radio, uh, and anything that I can pick up, WNBA, listening to podcasts and stuff on soccer, women's soccer, and you know I have my content that I absorb all day long, in different days as different things, um, and it's nice to be able to utilize all this information that I'm bringing in to be as knowledgeable in a sport as I can be. And I know a lot of people will message me a lot and say, "What do you think of this player? What do you think of that player?" And I'll certainly, when people ask, I'll certainly tell them what I think. But again, I'm just one guy, right? So who knows? And I'm a guy who, as we've talked about, I like to prospect a lot. I have great reasoning, and I'll tell you all my reasons to prospect. But it's what I do. Um, And it comes easy, right? So if this is something that you like to do, right? This is gonna all this comes becomes easy. It shouldn't be hard. This hobby should not be hard. I think if you're staying in your lane, if you stay in your lane in this hobby, it should be easy, and it should be fun. It should be rewarding. Um, People talk about passion, right? To have a passion for something. Uh, And this is what I relate it to. Like, this is what I'm kinda passionate about. This is what I like to invest my time into listening and absorbing all this information. So not only do I use it in the hobby, but I also use it with fantasy football, not only redrafts, but dynasty leagues, and there's money to be made there too, right? Those leagues are I'm in those leagues, putting my time into that because there's a reward at the end of the tunnel, right? The reward is not the complete focus, because if it was, right, and I talked about this before, if I broke down all the time I put into, say, fantasy football for the reward at the end, I would be making, probably less than a penny or pennies on the, per hour if I put my time into it. And it's the same with the hobby, right? If I took all the hours per day that I put in and doing things with the hobby, and I broke it down to the profit I end up, say, at the end of a week or at the end of the month or even at the end of the year, I'm really not getting paid much at all, if anything. But I'm happy to be a part of this, is because what I really like to do. I'm passionate about doing this, and I'm able to take what I make here, having fun, right, and reinvest it back into other things. And to me, that's a really cool way to be in this hobby. If you've been doing this for a while, right, you don't need to hear this from me. But if you're new, you're just starting out, or you think you might want to expand, like you just got one thing in your case, you think, hey, maybe I'll get into a new sport or a non-sport. I always say just be prepared. Make sure it's something you're passionate about. Make sure it's something that you're knowledgeable about, uh, and you can really make good decisions in that sport or non-sport. We all bring something different to the hobby. Our knowledge and even our hidden talents. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us successful, in what we do, as long as we utilize that properly, as long as we take that and do that information that we have and we put it to use for us, it should be not only successful, but it should be fun too. I mean, I remember starting out as a dealer and looking around the room at shows. And this is my business mind, right? And saying, nah, there's no tennis in the room. There's no golf in the room. That's what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to put that stuff in my case because nobody else had it, right? That was the only reason I wanted to put it in, because I figured, oh, here's a lane that nobody's, thought of, right? Or nobody's thought to put it. And people used to say, hey, there's a reason that's not here in the room, because I would buy it, I would get it all set up, and I would do everything and prepare it, and then realize it just wasn't there. Very few people were even interested in it. The advice I used to get from people is, you know what, stick to what you know, stay in your lane. I was trying to make it. I was trying to make these lanes up for myself. I thought I was filling a void. Not because I was that passionate about it, just because I just thought I was filling a void. And in my business mind is like, oh, I could make this, part of my inventory and sell this stuff. And it's interesting now that some of the people that still come back to me, that'll see me at a show maybe every 6 months or 8 months, or the same show once a year, and they'll come right back and say, hey, any more of that tennis or any more of that golf? And I'd be like, no, I got out of that a long time ago. Right. But I needed to learn those lessons on my own. I'm just that type of person that I leave no stone unturned, right? I want to try everything. I want to be able to try it out on my own. I jumped into a few lanes that I should have stayed out of. Um, so my advice here is if it's what you know and what you're passionate about, by all means jump in, because that's going to be your lane. Because that in this hobby, you want to have fun. It doesn't need to be hard. You want to make it easy, whatever you're passionate about, that's going to be your lane. And if it's not something you're passionate about, or you don't have that much knowledge about, I say leave that lane to somebody else, because it's going to be somebody's lane, but it doesn't have to be everyone's lane, right? All right. I'm going to watch this women's national championship game. I will be back on Thursday with the new episode. I don't know if we're going to have the guest back. I messaged him today, and he's still under the weather. So it may be just me, or you may be surprised with the guest come Wednesday. But that's all I have for you. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Till next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.